This year's 16 Days of Activism of No Violence Against Women and Children once again throws light on the high levels of violence against South African women and children. It's an international awareness-raising campaign that takes place every year from November 25th to the 10th of December. Well, despite a world-renowned constitution and, of course, that overhauls and safeguards women and children's rights, the problem still persists. Sakina Mohamed is the Executive Director of People Opposing Women Abuse Power, and we chat to her now from our Pretoria studios. Good afternoon, Sakina, and welcome to the News Today desk.
Good afternoon, Krishna, and good afternoon to your viewers.
Sakina, a focus now on intergenerational cycle of violence. What is this exactly, and more importantly, how do we begin to break this vicious cycle?
Intergenerational violence, we talk about violence that the women have experienced, and their children are now experiencing the same violence with their partners. So we should be looking at not only 16 days of 16 days of violence against women, we should be looking at 365 days. Like the President said, we all need to engage with violence against women all of the time so that we can break the cycle, but also more importantly, so that we can all take responsibility, because this is not only a government process, it happens within private spaces. So we need to also say that those private spaces need to become public spaces. So women themselves need to go out and actually report the cases, but more importantly, also break the cycle of violence.
Sakina, are we dealing with an epidemic of violence against women and children in South Africa right now? Or is this being alarmist? We're trying to get a sense of the extent of the problem currently.
Look, I think that it's important that we realize that it is a pandemic, and it is not being alarmist. We also need to say that, look, if 1 in 3 women are experiencing violence, that should actually raise our antenna to say, you know what, we definitely have a huge problem here. And it's not only in South Africa, it's worldwide. So we need to say, these are the things that we can do, is that women need to report more, because it's not their fault when they're being abused in their home. Even if you're married to somebody, he does not have the right to beat you up. Even if you're living with that partner, he does not have the right to beat you up or to rape you, or any other violence that takes place. It can be economical violence, it can be physical violence, it can be emotional violence, it can be wording all the time. So you do not have to live under those circumstances. And we see that women actually die from that process where they have not reported. A good case in time is the Pistorius case. We heard through the media, and one doesn't want to always believe the media, but you always think that why would she have gone to the toilet and locked the door? Why would a woman do that? Unless she's feeling that she is at risk here, or something else is happening. But that's not the only case. I mean, we've seen cases, especially during this time, where women are being killed.
Sakina, of course, the Pistorius case was a very high-profile case in the country. Let's talk about that inequitable access to health, education and social services. We know that poverty doesn't necessarily equate to violence, but it's true that our poorer communities, for example, Diepsloot and Delft, which also made headlines for violent crime against women and children. Talk to us about that link between poverty, social services, unemployment, and violence and abuse against children.
You know what, Krisha, violence against women and children cuts across all class of society. It's not only within impoverished communities. What we then need to say is that how do we ensure that women can get themselves out of the violent circle if they are impoverished. What kind of programs do we have, but what kind of programs does government have? But also, how do we ensure that there are facilities and shelters that will ensure that women are able to get out of poverty, but more importantly, get out of their violent and abusive relationships. So issues of poverty, issues of violence against women is not only about poverty. Women who live in your water kloof go through violence. So I think that we need to refrain from making it an issue of poverty. It is an issue of human dignity. It is an issue of men and women and in relationships. And those relationships go bad when people are unable to actually engage in a manner that is respectful.
Sakina Mohamed is the Executive Director of People Opposing Women Abuse Power. Thank you so much for your time on the News Today desk.